Everything's good. Cassandra, thank you for being patient. Great to meet you.
Yes, you too. You too.
So, where are you located?
I'm in a small town, Dade City, Florida.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
about an hour from Orlando.
I gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. I remember going to Orlando when I was like 12, and
Yeah.
the hotel I was staying at, it was kind of top secret. They were doing the new Coke unveiling.
Oh, wow.
So you got to
Oh,
be really careful where you went. It was a big deal. And I remember like,
wow.
I don't know, like a month or two after that it came out, and then a month or two later it died. New Coke did not make it. It was not good. No bueno. So it was wild. But
Awesome.
it's great to meet you. And I want to begin everything with what we lived through for the last 3 years. How did you survive COVID and how did it
Okay.
change you?
Okay. Yeah. Um okay. So you want me to go into that right now?
I come
Share a
from
little bit?
I come
Yeah.
from jazz radio, so I'm just diving right in. So yeah, that's kind of my entry point here.
Okay. So yeah, I was COVID was kind of like a very transformative time for me. I came out of the wedding industry that I had worked at for 10 years. And I always had this constant theme of burnout that was a challenge in my work that I did. And so I had just spent a lot of money to rebrand and everything just when COVID kind of shut everything down, which really was impactful to the wedding industry. And I believe it was a lesson for me to learn to sort of disconnect from the distractions and the things that were causing or leading to the burnout I experienced as a creative. And ultimately, during this time period in 2021, I had a really crazy, unusual, spontaneous spiritual awakening that was not expected. And so, yeah, after that, I kind of just shifted everything. I ultimately ended up walking away from my business that had the relatable title and everything. Everybody was like, what are you doing? But it just was no longer in alignment for me. So it was very transformative. Yeah.
So let's catch up here with right now. If I was to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day and one of the kids looked up and said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Oh, wow. What I do now. So I would say that I help people connect with who they really are and detach from worrying about what the external environment says who we are, and sort of just build confidence, feel like it's okay to have fun, to embrace life, to relax and take every experience for without expectations and just enjoy the ride. I believe there's really no wrong way to do it as long as we are spending time in self-reflection. So it comes back to the self and understanding yourself, building confidence and knowing your motivations.
So what did you want to be when you were in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
I have a lot of my childhood memories are very suppressed. It was a very dysfunctional home. I can remember though I had this book my mother gave me where it had like all the different grades, and it was like, this is what you wanted to be. And it was all over the place. I think I wanted to be like a hairdresser and an astronaut and a teacher.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just all over the place.
So beyond the dysfunction, what was it about your upbringing? Tell me where you were born and raised. What were some of the aspects that were seminal, that were positive, that grew into who you are today?
Okay. So I pretty much have had to completely disconnect from everything essentially.
Yeah,
Um, I ultimately, at the end of the day, despite my every efforts, my parents have disowned me. So it's not it's been a complete disconnection.
sure.
Looking back and reflecting on how I was raised, I will say that I did notice that earlier on, before I got to some of the more challenging years, which I would say was for me around middle school ish, high school. I did notice I was more expressive as a creative individual and more embodied into that. But as things sort of happened and play out in my life, I completely shut down. So part of my experience and my journey has really been almost reconnecting with that, because it was more of the authentic expression of who I am. But to get there, to express myself, I've had to sort of decondition or heal from the things that I did grow up. A lot of it was religious abuse. There's a lot of icky details there, but
Sure.
to generally summarize, a lot of insecurity, a lack of worth. I fought so hard to be the perfect daughter, the perfect, person, and I was highly manipulated. It never worked out to my advantage. And after a tragic circumstance where my grandfather committed suicide and my mother shared her own takes of how it was, you know, the Lord allowed it to happen because he wasn't good enough. That was like the last straw. I was
Yeah,
like, okay, there's something off kilter here.
sure.
So I moved out when I was 18. And I'll say, until I experienced that awakening journey, which was in my 40s, I I continued that life, really, that insecurity and lack of as identity of who I was, and it equaled the burnout that I experienced in my career, because that was creativity has felt like the only thing I at that time I could do right. It would be something people recognized my talents. So it was like my drug of choice. I just kept doing it to receive that validation so that I can have a sense of identity. And so it was a little messy. It was a little
Yeah.
messy.
Well, we're conditioned in our lives that it's your family, blood's thicker than water, all of that stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, sometimes it just doesn't work out and you have to
Yeah.
seed and you have to have the north and south that separate. So at the end of the day, as you look back on all of this, do you feel emboldened and happier and more content that all of this is how have you kind of come to that place where it's like, this is me, this is my life, this was this, and it served its purpose and you move on?
Absolutely. When I was going through, to touch on your first point, when I was going through this, it was interesting to me how many people didn't know when they ask questions, and they find out that I was disowned by my family. It was surprising to me how many people didn't know what to do with that. It was always like, oh, they'll come around, or it was things, I think, that we feel like there's this image of, it has to look like this way. But to answer your question, I feel amazing because I feel great love for my parents. There's no resentment, because I personally find a lot of comfort in my belief in reincarnation, and basically the idea that everything we go through, every experience is there for a reason. And this means that the people that are brought into our lives are players in that playing out. And so I believe that they were a part of this journey, because it is what has brought me into myself and to my authentic expression. And I don't know, I'm a big dreamer. I mean, I'm just now starting to tap into that in my 40s, but I've got big ambitions, and I think that it's fun to entertain the possibility that I can do that, because that was something I never had access to. And so while it's hard and a lot of people don't understand it, I have grown peace in it. And that my hope is that, ultimately they do find some sort of happiness in their journey, but I feel completely freed. And I feel like it was a very necessary step in my evolution as an individual.
Good for you. Who's been kind of a hero for you in your life?
Well, I'm going to say, that has been a hard one because I was so trained to see myself not as the authority of my own life. I always looked outside of myself. Everybody, I wanted somebody to tell me what to do so I could be that good girl, and follow how I was conditioned in my upbringing. But I would say someone I highly admire in this whole journey has actually been my husband because, like I said, when I had this awakening experience, I wasn't exactly the candidate for it. I was like raised religiously. The ideal of these things was not something I felt able to entertain. But what I experienced was literally transformative overnight. Literally the next day, I had a friend meet me and they were like, you're really off, you're different, this is neat, but this is really different. And my husband went through the same thing. We were married 20 years at the point that this happened. And when you've been somebody with somebody for that long, I mean, we even dated 5 years before that. So he's seen all of the ins and outs of my journey. And to flip a switch so suddenly and become this, more confident, empowered person, it was an adjustment, because like I said earlier, I believe all the people that are in our lives for a reason. And at the time he was in my life, I needed someone to carry me. I needed someone to be that strong backbone, listen to all my tears and, all of that. And so when that switched and I started to heal and I started to become responsible for my own feelings and healing journey, it was hard. He went through periods of feeling like, worrying what is his role in my life now and things along this lines. And to completely reinvent that relationship has been a journey. And I his selflessness of and curiosity of life to say, what, this doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. But you know what? I see a change and I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out, And so he's really inspired me because that is a love and a genuine curiosity and commitment that I think nowadays is rare.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer.
So if you could meet anybody alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be?
Oh man. This is a hard one. Because like I'm one of those people that, I can watch movies or see things and I'm horrible about retaining names and remembering things. And, I've kind of really focused a lot on my own journey, but I will say that I am also, and it's a complicated modality to understand, but what's called a gene keys guide. So I'm very much wrapped up into the I Ching, which is connected to the ancient I Ching. And so the founder is Richard Rudd. And let me tell you, this dude is like, man, so chill. He's been through a lot. And, he held a vision for what he wanted. And it was later in life where he finally saw, sort of things come into fruition for him. And he just seems like a really cool dude. So I know it's nobody, probably anybody's that familiar with,
Right.
but
No, that's
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
he just is inspiring to me. his just he's just like super chill.
Right on. So, what is the motivator for you every day to do the work that you do to help people? What is it that gets you out of bed, that gets you to accomplish what you want to get done?
Joy. I'd say joy. Um, I think that for so long, I lived my life worrying about not being okay and not being the right person. You know, I felt like for so long, I was just a person to be tolerated. And to let go of all of that expectation of feeling like you have to be or need to be something, and to just wake up every day and appreciate, you know, the air, the weather, the, you know, the people around you, the things, that simple pleasures in life. I think that allowing yourself to just live and be is a very challenging thing for a lot of people to do. The world is full of distractions. You know, I love, I think that's partly why I love expressions of art and music and creativity and entertainment, anything that helps us just connect with a wide variety of emotions and experiences, and just the freedom to be any of those things, instead of fixating on, I have to do this, I have to achieve that, I have to reach this, you know, and just chilling, you know, taking one day at a time, because I feel like every step is important. Every step leads us to where we, I feel like in our hearts, want to go. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, as somebody that really enjoys the whole idea of art and creativity, what was the piece of art, the book, the album? What was it for you that resonates, that maybe you still come back to, that brings a lot of comfort?
Hmm. So I'm a big fan of movies. So, you know, I can't say that, you know, actually, I'm gonna change. I was gonna say I can't say that that's a reflection of comfort, but at the same time, who knows? Maybe it is. I love the movie Chicago. I mean, I've literally watched it multiple times in a row. It's a, you know, I don't know if I'm like aspiring to be that, you know, but at the same time, I think once again having people just embody, you know, that creative expression is always fun. It's, there's some good humor in that. I like music. There's, I tend to be moved more by the sound of music than the words, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
I feel sensitive to music in that way. I think right now the thing that I'm kind of keep going back to, and this is a little silly, but um you know, when I was younger, I was definitely into like the punk and emo, you know,
Hmm.
all of that. And so Papa Roach, Born for Greatness has been sort of, some days I feel like I like very mellow music, but at the same time, some days I feel like I just need to be like, yeah, you can do this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's inspiring. Other than that, really, I love movies because growing up, yeah, I wasn't allowed listening to music. I wasn't allowed watching TV, watching movies. I mean, all of that expression was cut off to me, and creativity really wasn't embraced at all back then in school, really, where I went to school, or in the home. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, of all the things that you've done and overcome and become in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I would say relaxing, learning to relax. That's been very hard. And it's something I still every day have to consciously remind myself of. I'm very ambitious. I like to see things happen. I like to see them happen quickly. I like to constantly be moving. I have a lot of energy. I'm told by those who have worked with me and been around me that, you know, I, it can be hard to keep up with it. There was a time when I prided myself in this. I would not take care of my body. I wouldn't stop to feed myself. I would wear myself out. It was nothing for me to wake up at 8 a.m. and work till 5:30 a.m. and hardly skip a beat. And so the being able to learn how to relax and enjoy life and to realize that my worth is not wrapped up into all of the accomplishments, and to look at it as I want to now accomplish the things I want to do for just the enjoyment of it. For example, I started taking acting classes because I thought, you know what, that might be fun. And so allowing just to have those experiences and to relax and detach from expectations and just live really has been the biggest and most one of the most challenging things, because if I wouldn't have learned to stop, I wouldn't have been able to self-reflect and gain the confidence and internal understanding that I have. So it all starts with a willingness to pause.
Yeah. So everyone out there has a perception of you in your life, your family, your friends, your clients, colleagues, but you're in control. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm trying to measure that from who I think I am or who I want to be, which that's hard.
Yeah,
That's hard.
that's the separation.
Um yeah, yeah. So who would I describe myself as? Um, I'd have to say ambitious because still I am. Creative. I feel like the now I can't paint for nothing. I can't do that. Tried doing guitar lessons, and I was told I was a little tone deaf, couldn't tune a guitar. So not that sort of artistic expression. But I do feel like outside of that, a lot of things that I tackle, I do. I feel like I have a big heart for community and holding space and nurturing. So yeah, I think that's, yeah, I'm gonna say that's my answer.
So if you could witness any event that took place on Earth, any human event with your own eyes, what would you love to have seen firsthand?
I would say I probably that's I've never been asked that. I would say I would probably want to maybe witness or be a part of any of the speeches given by Martin Luther King.
Yeah,
I think that the power to stand up with such conviction and boldness and impact people the way that he did with authentic, genuine expression. I mean, that just seems like it would be an amazing thing to witness.
absolutely. Yeah, I would love to be there too. Cassandra, if anyone wants to hire you, learn more about you, anything about your world, where can they go?
Well, I would say first off is my podcast. I have a heart for community, and I think that that's a great way to start if you're curious about my journey. They start there, which is things I talk about is my podcast. I am a certified human designer, which helps individuals decondition from societal's programming and kind of gets you back in touch with yourself, which is a lot of what I spoke about. And so my website is Cassandra DeAnn, DEANN.com. And so, yeah, you can check that out as well.
This is wonderful, Cassandra. Good for you for overcoming all of these things and being strong and evolved. It's wonderful to see and all the work that you're doing. So thank you for opening up your world. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a great
All
day.
right. You
See ya.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.